My name is Stephen G. Fullwood, and I am one of the co founders and co directors of the Nomadic Archivist Project. And you are here with me, Tanya Beltran, and Miranda Mims. We are NAP. We are the Nomadic Archivist Project, and this is the NAP Kickback. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We
Welcome.
come together every other Tuesday to talk about all things archives, to talk about what we're doing. We want to hear what you're doing, and we hope that you join us for a lively discussion today because it's a great topic. For those of you who are interested in starting your own archival collection, this is your session.
Yes,
Come
it
with
is.
questions, come with your imagination, come with your tips, you know. So we're very excited to have you. I want to do some housekeeping really quickly. The Nomadic Archivist Project has a scholarship for library students who are interested in going to the Society of American Archivists Conference, which is coming up in New Orleans, I believe, this year in
Mm-hmm.
the summer. And so, what we do is we raise funds for our young up and coming professionals for you to attend the conference as well as and all expenses covered flight, accommodations, and membership. Now, if you also are an independent archivist and you have a very compelling archival project that you would love to get funding for, also reach out to us because we're interested in seeing what you got. And the um, the application process is really simple. You go to our webpage, which is nomadicarchivistsproject.com/scholarship and find out the details. But all we're asking for is a one sheet description of what your project is. Send us a headshot, a bio. It is super easy. So just think about it. And I've
Yeah.
talked enough. I've talked enough. Miranda, say
Well,
something.
I
Tanya,
would
say
say look at
something.
if you're curious to see like the other people that have been awarded for the scholarship, if you're curious to see what their projects have been or their interests, all of their information is also on our website. So I would definitely check them out. And if you're just curious, because there's some pretty awesome people doing amazing work. And so just curious to
Mhm.
see what they're up to.
Yeah.
You can check them out on a scholarship page. So we have the previous one, Esperanza, who we was 2020. What are we
20.
2025's? Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then but then we have a past page with all the other people, all the
Mhm.
other folks listed.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so it's cool. But yeah, definitely check it out.
Mhm.
And March 31st. I don't know, you said that already, Stephen, but
I
just
did,
making
but it's
sure.
always good to repeat it because people are busy and they might forget, and so they'll have to go to our website to figure out what the conditions are and hopefully apply. And maybe even if not you, and you know someone who is in library school or an independent archivist who has a wonderful project,
Right.
let them know about it, please, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, spread the word. Spread the word. Hey
So Tanya, how?
Lee.
Hey Lee, how you doing?
Leads in the chat.
I hope I mean you're in DC, so I heard there was pretty brutal weather down there yesterday. So
Oh my
hopefully
goodness, like snow?
everything's cool with you. No, I think they
Like a
had like a
tornado.
tornado.
No, DC did not have a
Tornado,
tornado.
tornado watch. New York City
Okay,
had one
thank
too,
you.
apparently. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Hmm.
was really weird weather here yesterday. Very weird. Excuse me.
Yeah. It's been
Yeah.
crazy up here in Western New
Hmm.
York.
So we've been
Yeah.
getting it. Tanya, how are you feeling?
I'm good. Ready to be the guest of all guests today.
The guest of all guests. Yes. And so our topic, as I mentioned, um, 5 things you can do to get started with your archive. So again, Miranda and Tanya and I are going to be talking about some of those 5 things, but also we want to hear from you if you have tips or what your experience with building your archive, anything. We're desperate for engagement. So please
Yeah.
say something to us.
Talk to us.
We beg you,
Please.
please
Yeah.
join
And if you're
us,
If you're
follow us,
joining us in
speak
the
to
future,
us.
still talk to us.
right, if you're
We'd
joining us
love
in
to
the
know
future,
Yes.
what's happening in the
Leave
future.
a comment,
please.
please.
Yes, this is
Yes. So
we
even if
love it.
I would say not only like what you've been doing
Hmm.
to get your archive off the ground, but also like maybe what are some of the challenges? Because this
Hmm.
what we're talking about today is like really just I think some of the things to really just kind of help spark
Oh
that,
yeah.
yeah, the ignition, getting it started. So nothing too crazy where we're like diving into the deep end of things you have to do for your archive, but
Mm.
just things to, like just to help you kind of get that momentum,
Right.
start to build it. And so I think that's really, really important. So if there are things out there that have helped you build that momentum to start something new, or to, begin your archival journey, let us know about it. But also
Mhm.
things that have held you back, or, ways you've started and stopped, because that always happens
It always
as we get
happens.
busy. Yeah, it
Hmm.
always happens.
Good,
And
because
so
I'm going through an archival downtime, so it's good to know that
an
that's part of
archival
the process.
downtime. What is an
Archive.
archival downtime?
While we
What is
got.
that?
Archival downtime.
Yeah.
That's me knowing very well that there were things that need to be done in the archives, but I am not doing them right now.
Okay.
That's what
So
that
you're
is.
more of a
Yeah.
hiatus. Yes. Okay. I
It's
got you.
more of a hiatus, right?
Okay.
Well, what's great about that term, I'm just going to put it on the screen, and then Lee has a really great question too. So if you have archival downtime, don't despair. This is just a condition of the work, right?
Right.
No matter if
Yeah.
you're in an institution, if you are gathering family work, archival downtime probably is necessary for you just to keep going in some ways. So thank you for that, Tanya. I really appreciate
You
it.
got it.
You got it. And so Leah says something pretty awesome here. And so,
Oh, there we go.
so my archive has fallen off. How have you worked with friends to build momentum? Miranda, this sounds like you. It sounds like a cue for you.
Actually, I feel like it sounds like you, Stephen. It sounds like something you've recently
Are we-
done. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm throwing it back to you
you
because
throw it
I
back to
know
me,
that
but then also give me a clue.
which Lee, I think, already knows about, Archive Sundays. And so I'm
Oh,
Right.
curious
I
to
okay.
have
know a
heard of
little
this
bit about
Archive
what
Sundays. That is true.
Archive Sundays is
Right.
and
Okay.
how can that be momentum, especially for friends who are trying to do
This
this work together
okay.
or hold
So
each other accountable or be accountability partners, I would
Right.
say.
so this is what it is. So Archive Sundays started out as a way to um build build to process collections, to work, contact people to do oral histories, anything within the 2 to 3 hour period. And I began, like, some people like Lee and Christopher have come and we've worked together on doing this work, just to one, just to be in accountability partners, but to be in company with one another.
Mm.
So we tell each other what we were working on, and then we'd say, "Hey, I'll check back with you in about an hour." But we would leave our screens on, and we would just go about our work. So the reason why it has fallen off as of late is that I've been traveling. I have been traveling, and when I
Mm.
haven't been traveling, I've been tired. so
Okay.
so I think that's important to say out loud. But and so Lee, as far as how we have worked, and I'll say we because I hope Miranda will answer this as well, and Tanya, both of you. Um, in terms of building momentum, I like having conversations with people about their archive, what they're doing, how they're doing, what seem to be the challenges. Are there things that they can't seem to get over? Are they waiting for supplies? And so a conversation is the first thing I like to do to help people to kind of think about building momentum, and then maybe give them an anecdote or two. One, to show that they're not alone, and two, that this is, again, what's it called? Archival downtime
Downtime.
happens.
Yeah.
Tanya just came out the gate with that. Like, bam. So, what do you think, Miranda and Tanya? How would you, or how have you helped people build momentum as they build their archive?
I co-sign with you say. I feel like talking to people about it is really helpful because I think a lot of
Hmm.
times we're kind of in our heads with what to
Hmm.
do, where to start, when to start, how to start, what supplies do we need,
Yes.
and so
Hmm.
to me, especially somebody who has an organizational mindset,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
it's when somebody starts talking to me, it's easy to see the path forward for them, even if they
Okay.
can't see it. And so
Okay.
I think that in itself of just being like, oh, okay, so I see what you're saying. You're thinking about like what kind of supplies you should get, and do you need this, do you need that, but you haven't even started just putting things into piles, or like seeing what you actually want to keep, or
Mhm.
really think, like just even starting to do it, you kind of want to have like the supplies first. Because I hear that a lot. People are always saying, like, what supplies do you need?
Is
And
that
a
Right.
one
lot
of
of
one of the five that we're discussing today?
yeah,
Supplies?
you don't need supplies. I feel like to start, you don't need supply. Like low, like just getting started, you don't really need supplies. I would say maybe supplies in the sense of like some post-its and pencils, like basic supplies. You might, if you don't have
Right.
post-its, pieces of paper,
Right.
like envelopes, the back of envelopes that you have around your house,
Yes.
like
Mhm.
things that are super like disposable things, things that are not you don't need like the expensive archival boxes at the beginning. I think if you're just starting, because that's what we're talking about, like just jumping in.
Just
And
jumping in.
so
Mhm.
I think even before supplies or that, I think conversation or like thinking about maybe not even like a detailed plan, but like somewhat of a plan, coming up with a plan first is really important. So I think talking to people about what they could be
Mhm.
is really good first step, because I think people will help you like come back from the deep end. Because I
Right.
think a lot of times we start planning and we go so deep into the plan and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
deep into the details that then we lose momentum because it becomes very overwhelming. And so that's when like having a conversation with somebody who, doesn't have a background in archives or organizing could help you
Mhm.
be like, oh girl, that sounds like a lot. Like
Absolutely.
you doing a lot. Like
So
why
I
don't you
hear
just
simplicity, right?
yeah,
Simplicity
why don't you
gets
just
Yes.
far.
separate
Go
things into like
simple.
two piles
Mhm.
and just start there. Like the plan
Just
should
start
be
there.
the month of, March to June, depending on how much stuff
Mhm.
you have. Put things into two piles. I
Right.
mean, like that's how deep the plan should be at this point, and like those kinds of things help reel you back from,
Mhm.
I feel like, the burden of sticking to a very ambitious plan,
Right.
and then B, overthinking things before you even need to overthink them. Because what I
Mhm.
find, I think Stephen will probably co-sign on this, is that the materials that you're working with will speak to you. They'll tell you after a
Oh,
while,
I
once
definitely.
believe
you're
that.
in them, what they need, what they want. And Tanya, you could probably speak to this too, because you
I
now
believe that.
know with your collection that you need certain things that you might not have known until you started to really dig into your collection. Now you're like, oh wait, my collection's
Mhm.
talking to me. My materials are telling me what I just need to listen to them.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Like going back to what you were saying about don't stress that you don't have supplies, or going around the house to see if there were things that you already have, like blank envelopes and using the back of envelopes and things like that. Um, I think
Mhm.
location is important to some people, right? Like, where am I
Okay.
putting these things that I have?
Right.
And
Right.
if you're not focused on buying supplies, there are things, items that you have in your house, in your apartment that you can use. So for me, who's new to archiving, right? New to
Mhm.
the idea that what I'm doing is defined as archiving. I didn't know that at the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So NAP has helped me understand that. But I thought, like, I need a location. Where am I going to put all this like memorabilia? I have no
Mhm.
idea. And I never thought of it as a supply, but I'm a rollerblader. I like to rollerblade, and rollerblades come in very big boxes. And
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
always had several of those boxes just in my closet that were empty, and
Mhm.
they're big
Mhm.
Mm.
enough, they're matted. I never knew that there were even archival boxes until I took a workshop with NAP, right? But they're
Uh-huh.
very similar in terms of like the material that they're made out of, because it needs to
Mhm.
protect the wheels, the bearings, the oil, the actual equipment that's like in this box.
Mhm.
So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, if it could protect rollerblades, right, then it can absolutely protect some of my archives, some envelopes, some birthday
Mhm.
cards, some business cards that remind me of
Mhm.
appointments I've had in the past, some
Mhm.
photos. And so I think, it's great that Miranda's saying, don't get caught up on not having actual supplies that you would buy that is very specific to archiving. Don't get caught up in the fact that you're not an expert. you're new to this, right? Don't start self-loathing and like judging, right? What
Yes.
you do is you take what you have and you make it work for you. Shoe boxes, cigar boxes. I mean, my dad used to have like all these old cigar boxes from back in the day and put his
Oh,
cassette tapes in
yes.
it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those. I
That
love
was him
those.
archiving his cassette tapes from the 80s. You
Right.
know, he didn't define it as that, but let me tell you,
Right.
we have those boxes to this day and those tapes are in there
Okay.
and
Okay.
they're dust free, right? Let's really think about what they're doing. They're protecting them from dust,
Right.
they're
Right.
protecting them from moves from one apartment to the next. And he
And they're
thought it's
passing, he passed it forward.
and he passed it forward, right? So I think it's important to not get caught up and to not corner yourself. I think it is also very important to like simplify. I think simplifying is hard for people. That's hard for me.
Mhm.
One thing Miranda mentioned was being very like structured and having a plan and organized. I am not that. No one will call me that in my life, I don't think. And the people that do, Lord, who knows how disorganized they are, if like I'm the most organized person that they know. But
Uh-huh.
I do I do think that you know, not I'll speak from the perspective of someone who might not have a plan. Going
Mhm.
back to what Miranda was saying, like let your archive speak for you.
Speak
It's
to you.
okay if you don't have a plan, right? But like still dive in and see where it takes you. Like see how your own story unfolds. And if you're archiving a family member and their story, see how their story unfolds. And you know,
Yes.
you'll start seeing that there's like a common denominator. And
Mhm.
once you see that, then that's your focal point. That's when the plan and the
Well
strategy
done.
starts, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful, Tanya. And I love this idea of the archive speaking to you and keeping
Yeah.
it simple, because then it can maybe move some of that fog out of the way, or some of
Right.
that I need to do this and need to just, well, if you know that you, with using your example of your father's cigar boxes, my dad had
Right.
some of those RG Duns. I forget the
Right.
other ones, but if I saw them, I saw those
You would
colonial
know.
people on the back of the
Right.
and he used to use them for like pencils and pens and the kinds of things, whatever. But
Mhm.
begin to work out your own archival like theory in a way.
Right.
You begin to go by what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And so if the cassette tapes are in great condition because of that box, that's
Absolutely.
powerful,
Absolutely.
right?
I also think it's one of the beautiful things about like self archiving is that it's not standardized. Like your
Right.
archive, Tanya, like
Well
you were
done.
talking about, like having your stuff in a rollerblade box or a
Right.
rollerblade, yeah, rollerblades, yeah, they're boxes, and
Mm-hmm.
your father's in cigar boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a lot of my archives in Origins. I always used to get these like Origins
Ah.
boxes, and they were always really, really nice. And so I would just put, especially my photographs into those boxes. And so like that also becomes to speak stories about
Absolutely.
like who you are and
Right.
what you the things you loved in
Right.
life,
Like your
like
interests and what you find
yeah.
important and what you enjoy in life.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
because once you
Yes.
start, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with archival boxes, but once you start to put things into just these gray or blue boxes, you know, it's just so, yes, behind Steven, right. They're just,
Mhm.
they're nice and they're great and they protect your materials. But they don't tell the same kind of story, and so
Right.
that is kind of fun
Mm-hmm.
about when you're thinking about like self archiving, and you can do things to still protect your materials within those boxes, like getting
True.
acid free, because what's so great about those boxes is that they're acid free. That's like the biggest thing, is that they're acid free, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times they'll also protect against water and fire damage, but you can put
Well, right.
acid free paper inside the boxes that you're using to protect your materials. So, you could do some of that work at a fraction of the cost, and still protect your materials and have it in the kind of environment that you want, which is cool.
So we talked initially about how to get started, and we have some great tips that we've already like offered. Are there things that you, Miranda and Tanya, and I answer after you guys answer? Someone's has a bunch of stuff. Their parent has just passed away, or they are moving and they want to sort of organize some stuff, or maybe keep some stuff, and maybe toss the other stuff. Are there tips that you another tip that you would give to folks to say, hey, this is another way to begin thinking about your archive?
And I also offer this question to anybody who's out there listening to us. If you have a tip, write it in so we can hear from you
Yes,
too.
please.
Well,
Okay.
I'll take this one for
Okay.
starters.
Hmm.
And this is something that Miranda actually helped me with. And
Hmm.
it's interesting because it was very similar to the submission process for literary journals when I was an editor in chief at Inkwell.
Okay.
So Miranda
Hmm.
said, in my storage unit, think of everything as like a yes, no, maybe, right?
Okay. Okay.
And that resonated with me because it's the same process we had in editorial work when you're
Okay.
reading submission from writers, right?
Okay.
Yes, no, maybe. And you have them in
Hmm.
piles. And things that are
Hmm.
like an absolute no, you're either asked, well, this is not in the literary sense, but in the archival sense,
Hmm.
you're asking people in your family, like, this is a no for me. Is this something that you want? Right. And
Hmm.
it's easy
Hmm.
to separate from, right? It might not be part of what you want in your collection or you want in your archive. And that's easy. The no's are easy because they're hard,
Right.
right? And
Hmm.
you can part from
We
them.
could land on the one.
Those
No.
darn maybes are like the worst.
Uh-huh.
Right? The
Yes.
maybes are the worst. And so like in the literary process, like reading through the maybes, then you have to like decipher which ones are absolute yeses and which ones are now
Hmm.
nos, right? And so what happens is you really start ending up with like a yes and a no pile.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think bringing it down to that, you then are left with items that mean the most to you,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have to be part of an archive, but it's important to you and like that's enough, right? Or it's
Exactly.
something that
Yes. Hmm.
you absolutely like want to pass down. So
Hmm.
we've spoke about this before, that my father recently passed away in October of 2025, and we haven't went through his things, but off the bat there were these yes items that my mom was like, these are
Hmm.
yeses but I don't want them, but we will not throw them out, right? So they're not
Right.
no's. They're
Right.
not no's.
Hmm.
They're
Right.
not maybes. She doesn't want them, but
Hmm.
no,
Somebody's
it's
got to take them.
someone's right.
Someone's got to take them.
This
That's it.
if you don't want them, the nephews are up next, right? Like we got to go down the
Yes.
family tree, right?
Yes.
And a lot of
Absolutely.
these things were instruments, maracas,
Okay.
a
Okay.
conga, a bongo, right? And
Hmm.
so there was no way that we were going to throw these out. And so going back to like moving or like a parent passing or a loved one passing,
Hmm.
I think it might even be easier to start with like the absolute yeses, right? Even
Okay.
if they're not for you, but
Hmm.
just like these items that speak true to your family, your lineage, the person that passed, or like your relationship with them. And the first thing you do
Hmm.
with them is you put them somewhere safe, right? Or
Uh-huh.
you at least hold on to them. So my mom did that for us. She's like, these are the absolute yeses. So at least when we finally have the emotional strength to go through his things,
Yes.
we
Hmm.
know what the absolute yeses are. So we can just ignore them and just start going through the maybes and the no. So you kind of work backwards. What are the absolute yeses?
Yes.
I'm taking the conga. Yeah, my
That's it.
nephew gets the bongos, apparently.
Pop, pop. Boo. Yep.
Yeah, there
I
you
love it.
go. And some speakers are thrown in there too. Yeah, I gotta find
Freaking
room for
awesome.
those, but
That's it. That's some great advice though. Start with the yes, no, maybe piles and then start with the yeses.
and then
Yeah.
start with the yeses. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Mimsy?
Mimsy
Yeah, I
got
mean, I
like the
like.
sunset going on
I
right
know.
I know
now.
it's like
I'm
going,
just, yeah,
hey.
it's
That's
Is it happy
great. Like
hour? What's
setting a
going on?
mood.
I
Yeah.
Right.
think so. I think so. I don't
I
know
was like,
what
what just
happened, but
you got some light automatically.
we do have some light. I
Ah,
mean, it's covered in snow. It was 70 degrees yesterday. No
what?
snow whatsoever because it was so hot. And
Uh-huh.
then throughout the day, the temperature plummeted. And then now it's winter wonderland again outside. There's just snow and ice
What
and
is it?
everything is covered. So it's very strange. But yes, the sun is
Mm,
now, but the sun did come out and now it's coming down on
cool.
me. So I guess I can't
It
complain
sounds like
about
a
that.
song. The
But
sun coming down on you, Miranda. Wow, scary.
That's probably like a one-hit wonder. You'll have royalty for the rest of your life.
I
yes,
Yeah.
know.
yes.
Well, depending on the music industry, because they are jacking everybody up. So anyhow, go right ahead.
Well, it
Okay.
reminds me of the Ashanti song, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but that's actually
Yeah.
totally opposite because it's like Rain on Me, right? And
Rain
it's like kind of dark and yeah, right?
I
You
think
remember
that's
that? The
SWV,
Ashanti
right?
song?
It
No, it's
That's
was.
Ashanti.
Yeah.
No, it's Ashanti.
Ashanti has a rain. The SWV has a has a Rain on Me
Well,
song,
that's true too. They do.
and
SWV.
it's
Oh,
that
Yeah.
lyric, yeah, Rain
Yeah.
on
And
Me.
I'm gonna
So
add to that. I'm gonna add I Can't Stand the Rain for Missy Elliott. I
oh
gotta
yes.
just for everyone's adding a song, I gotta add one
Yeah,
too.
I guess it's not
gotta add a
about sun
song.
anymore, but
That's funny. I was going to ask you guys
Apparently,
what your
right.
song was
Sun
today,
comes
and then
out, we
now you
talking
guys
about
came up with
rain.
a song. Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ashanti though.
cool.
So I like the yeah, go with the yeses. I feel like you should go with what feels simplest to you and
Right.
what
Mm-hmm.
feels like it won't slow you down. Because if you're
Mm,
thinking about momentum, especially in the beginning, I feel like in the beginning of doing anything, whether archiving or not, it's
Mm-hmm.
good to have that momentum and it's good to have that forward motion. And it's so easy to overthink
Oh
right.
yeah.
when you start to see things, especially after a loss of someone, and you start to hold that object in your hands and in your heart and in your memories are flooded, it can be really, really difficult to kind of
Mm-hmm.
move on from that. Or even if
Agree.
you're moving and just remembering like the space that you're about to leave, especially if you had good memories in that space,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even bad memories. I don't know. But like all these things, this type, it is called memory work for a reason, archiving. And
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it can be a lot. And so the idea of like the simplification of the piles is kind of nice because if yes, it's right. Like if you can just do the yeses, that's perfect because you're
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. At least you are moving forward in some way. If the no's are better for you, if like all these scraps of paper, these
Mm-hmm.
whatever is, you're in the moving process and that they have actually no meaning, then the no's are good. And maybes are great because it doesn't, because I feel like maybes are really important. They're actually the
Mm-hmm.
most important pile because if you can't make a decision in that decision fatigue, I mean, because after a while you do
Mm-hmm.
have decision fatigue,
Right.
depending,
Yes.
especially if it's moving or it's at the loss of someone, if you
Right.
have to do it under like a certain amount of time,
Right.
that's when it becomes very, very difficult. It's a very different process from what we're talking about of like you've got time, or like you start to
Mm-hmm.
budget time into your life to really think about your archive and curate your archive. Is very different, I think, from the scenario you talked about, Stephen, whether you're moving or
Mm-hmm.
the loss of someone,
Mm-hmm.
where you've got all these other things influencing your decision making.
Absolutely.
um and that can be really stressful. So it can be very taxing. And so the maybes are good because you don't have to just give you, if you don't know if it's a no, you don't know it's a yes, you don't have to give up on it. You come back to it. It
Right.
doesn't even
Yes.
matter if it's that year or whatever, if you could put it into a
Right.
box. You
Mm-hmm.
come back to it. And then when you're clearer, because I feel like once you start to get clearer, like again, your
Mm-hmm.
material
Mm-hmm.
starts speaking to you and you can
Right.
get clearer, you'll come back to the maybes and you'll be like, oh yeah, wait, no, I know exactly where that's going to go,
Mm-hmm. And
where
then
what if I need it or not.
and if
Right.
that within that time that you start your maybe pile, again, people might show up and you're like, this is the perfect thing to give to Aunt Sharon because she loves this
Right.
kind of stuff. And so,
Absolutely.
so I love the fact that you thought that you characterized the maybe pile as the most important pile. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I could,
it is.
absolutely. That maybe pile. I need to put that as a tip.
Yeah, I want to
It's that maybe
piggyback off
pile.
of what Miranda was saying about being, like the maybe pal and um, you might be like pressed for time, right, to make a decision. That's reminding me because this is a twofer. This is a passing and having to get this person's items out of their apartment
Mm-hmm.
because they passed, right? So it's an uncle of
Mm.
mine over 10 years ago. He passed and he wasn't married, he didn't have any children.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother, their brother, and myself took it upon ourselves to
Okay.
retrieve his things from
Mm-hmm.
the room where he was staying.
Oh.
And
Mm-hmm.
we were like, it was the maybe pile that was the hardest and most important at that time, right? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
like, we don't know what these items meant to him.
Right.
And
Right.
what we did was, what do they mean to us? Right. So,
Okay.
like, and it was very sad because we lost him, but it was beautiful at the same time because a
Mm-hmm.
person's
Mm-hmm.
life
Mm-hmm.
is their diary, is their journal,
Yeah.
and going back
Mm-hmm.
to what Miranda was saying, memory work, like their memories. And I
Yes.
I saw that he had a radio, a stereo that I gave him
Mm-hmm.
10 years before then, right? So this was like
Okay.
a 1990s, maybe like
Mm-hmm.
1998, 99. It was
Mm-hmm.
almost the 2000s, but not really.
Okay.
Um, it was the first stereo system I bought myself, and that's why I prized it because I'm like, oh, I took
Mm-hmm.
my allowance. Look at me, I could buy my own, you know, stereo system. As I
Wow.
spoke about before, I used to get a lot of hand-me-downs from my dad because he was a musician.
Mm-hmm.
So this was prized because I bought it myself. And there was one day I didn't need it anymore and I gave it to him. Flash forward, he passes away and we're in this,
Mm.
in his
And
room and he has it.
there it
And it is
is.
in pristine condition. I mean,
Oh
I don't
wow.
know if he polished it every day with like blue shiner, but this thing, you would never know that it was from like
Mm-hmm.
98. You would just never know. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it, right? And I thought about
Okay.
like taking it back. That was one of
Okay.
the
Mm.
maybes because it
Yeah.
wasn't a no. It absolutely wasn't a no, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
not mine. And it was mine, but I gave it to
Mm-hmm.
him. And I felt very
Right.
weird
Right.
about taking back something that I gave to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that became part of like our decision making between my mom, my uncle, and me was
Mm-hmm.
just like, why are we with the maybes? Like, why are we taking it? Why are we keeping it? What are we really
Mm-hmm.
saying
Right.
if
Mm-hmm.
Tanya takes this radio back? I'm like, no, I want it to go with him. I'm gonna part with it, right? And that became
Okay.
like a lot of, so my mom found like old CDs that my dad gave him and old cassette tapes that I mean, it was our family, like my family,
Mm-hmm.
like my immediate family, the Beltrans. It was like
Mm-hmm.
we were part of his history. And we kept
Mm-hmm.
finding
Right.
all these things that like we gave him. And my Theo Henry, the same thing. He's like, oh my God, I remember when my wife gave this to him in
Mm-hmm.
1980 something. And it took a very
Ooh.
long time for us to get out of there, but we were, strapped for time. Like we needed to
Mm-hmm.
get his
Mm-hmm.
things out. And and it's just going back to what Miranda was saying about making these like real brief kind of important decisions last minute. Let them speak to you. Going back to like the original comment, let the archive speak to you if you're going through
Mm-hmm.
someone who passed that's not in your, like, it's your extended family and you see their
Mm-hmm.
story and unfolding in front of you. um it will tell you something. And the only
Mm-hmm.
thing I left with two things. I left with his CD, his stacks of CDs and like this leather case that I
Mm-hmm.
knew for a fact he would want me to have. I knew it.
Okay.
Even
Okay.
if I never listened to that music, I know he would be like, I want Tanya to have that.
Okay.
And some rolling papers from like Georgia, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
Yeah, he used to smoke cigarettes, but he liked to roll his own cigarettes, like for real, for
Mm-hmm.
real. He used to roll his own tobacco. And I said, I'm gonna take these two
Mm.
things, but he's gonna stay with the radio, you
That's
know.
really something, Tanya. You are
Yeah.
such a writer. You're such a
Oh,
great storyteller. Really, you are such a great storyteller.
oh,
It's
thank
going to
you.
go with
Okay,
him.
that's what's up. Didn't
Yeah,
even know.
that's been up. That's been
Oh,
up.
that's great. Yeah, but
I
going
think
back to
it's
those
important
maybes,
too.
you know.
I think it's important though what you said though, Tanya, because you don't always know, especially if you're talking about you're doing this, you're putting somebody else's life, you're making sense of somebody else's life, and you don't always know the meaning behind things, and
Right.
that's really
True.
important too. I think, and whether it goes in the maybe or what pile it goes into,
Hmm.
or where you decide to place these materials, but it's also, it's a reason why we as we are here, if we're still in the living, to make
Yeah.
some of those choices. And to one of the things that my mother does, I don't know if she's here tonight, is that she like labels things and writes things down, and sometimes
Mm,
puts
Mm.
stories to objects or things that she has, so
Oh,
you can
okay.
understand the
that's
significance
great.
and the meaning, because you don't, oh, if you do, you don't always know.
Right.
You don't always
True.
know. And
Right.
so that's why, like, what we're doing in terms of like thinking about our own archives is important, because we are communicating to people, not just ourselves to relive our own experiences, but we're communicating with others,
Hmm.
the meaning behind certain things, and also what we want ultimately to happen to our things after we
Right.
do
Absolutely.
transition.
Right.
Wow. So I was just thinking about what your mother did, and I know people who, like, when we've done this before, Miranda, where we've gone to pick up a collection and we might be boxing it, and the
Yeah.
person or the people might be telling us stories about the material. There was a gentleman by the name of Brad Johnson, who black word poet,
Hmm.
born and raised in Philadelphia, went to Yale, was in the Navy, and had some amazing stories to tell us about this collection. He was actually he was on oxygen, walking around, just kind of pointing out things and
Mm.
telling this amazing story about his collection of letters that he wrote in French. He was really just well versed
Mm,
in French, and a series of almost like a box of poems that he never published. And so all of that, the parts that made sense went into the scope and content, because it gave it that extra story that folks wouldn't know about necessarily, because they didn't know Brad and it wasn't published anywhere.
mm.
What's
Right.
the scope and
So
content, Stephen?
Thank you
scope and
for
content.
asking.
Yes, let's give you the context for a scope and content. It is
Yes,
a
it's a very.
term in the archives field. So when you process a collection, you put together a guide. So if it's, say it's the Miranda Mims papers, we'll talk a little bit about Miranda in a bio sketch. And then the scope and content tells you exactly what's in the collection. In some cases, it tells you what's not in the collection. If Miranda is known to do things and for some reason it's not included in the collection, so that folks know what's there, the extent of it, how much it is, in terms of boxes and linear feet or cubic feet, the kinds of materials. So the scope and content, for example, of a collection I have, my family's collection, the scope involves lots of genealogical materials, including
Mm,
photographs, yearbooks, birth and death certificates, funeral programs, things like my father used to keep a book of recipes and things he would put together as a sous chef. So he had all this stuff in there, and I would mention all that in the scope so that my family knew first and foremost what's there, if they wanted to use it, borrow it, that kind of thing. So a scope just basically tells you what's there.
Yeah, I would say, and maybe in a later, this is since this is like archiving, 101,
101,
and what you're
almost
talking
getting
about is
started.
a little bit more advanced when it comes to
Yes.
writing things down and making lists.
Hmm.
That we'll talk more about that, like what a possible guide could look like. But I would go a little bit. I would also add to what Steven said, is that, a lot of times
Hmm.
guides will have a list, like you would think, like any kind of like list that you'd put together of what's in your
Like an
collection,
inventory. Yeah.
an inventory list, right? And then the
Hmm.
scope and content is the description of it. So Stephen wrote diaries for the majority of his life, but his diaries really talk about his life in Harlem and his life as an
Mhm.
artist, his life as an archivist.
Mhm.
And it'll go a little bit more into so you can really understand the contents of the diaries. It's not just Stephen wrote, diaries from 1980 to
Steven's broken
2025.
heart.
But yeah, Stephen,
Little
yeah, there you'll also
Stevie.
find a lot of juicy bits on Stephen's love life in
You
those
heard it here first,
diaries.
even though it's not true.
Right.
Um,
Right to page 64.
whew, so much,
Yeah.
so much.
I like this tip that you just put up, Stephen. I think this is our next the next tip that we should
Right.
talk
Mhm.
about when beginning your archival journey is to think about
Mhm.
what story you want to tell, because it's also something to think about. Stephen just mentioned his family papers, but Stephen has many different archives, right? So an archive can be, or a collection. He's got a collection for his family. He's got a collection for himself. He's got a collection for different organizations that he has started. So he has many different stories. So if we want to say, instead of a collection, we call it a story. So he's got many
Oh,
different
great.
stories that he's telling.
I like
And
that.
so that's also a good thing to think about, like, so you don't get overwhelmed. I have just like, most of us here too, I have different stories that I'm telling. I have a family collection that's very different from my
Mhm.
personal papers, right? And
Right.
then Stephen and I started the Nomadic Archivist Project. We also have the Nomadic Archivist Project archive. So there's all these different stories that we're telling. And I know for myself, I cannot tell them all at the same time. I got to start
Oh yeah.
somewhere. And so what is the pressing one that
Right.
you want to tell? Like, right? Like you
Mhm.
might want to start with, yourself, or something that you started, a community group you started, or,
Mhm.
your family, or something, anything you're thinking about. But really think about what that story is and start there. It's always best to start smaller. I mean, even if the story you're telling is a big story and
And
has the
simpler.
majority of your stuff, but start with that one story instead of all the stories you want to tell.
Absolutely.
All the
Mhm.
all the archives you want to kind of put together. I think it'll help, because again, it's about the
Yes.
momentum and, like, staying motivated, and you
Mhm.
crash once you start becoming overwhelmed.
I like the
Absolutely.
idea of that, because going back to literature, I don't know, it seems like I'm kind of tying the two together here. It's
Mhm.
becoming a
Well,
theme throughout this
it's good.
episode.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I like kind of like focusing on like one singular story and
Mhm.
building your archive around that. Getting the wheels moving, maybe even understanding what that story is and focusing in on it,
Mhm.
maybe tightening it before moving to the next, because you do get a sense of like completion, right?
Right. Mhm.
I like, going back to literature, I like longer form. Longer form takes a lot of time,
Mhm. Yes, it
right?
does.
Novels take a lot of time. Trilogies take even more time.
Oh,
Which is
yes.
why none of them been published, because I'm like still working on all of them. But to feel a sense of completion, poetry, right? That's where it
Mhm.
comes in, right? The
Okay.
smaller form
Mm.
of letters, right? And
Mhm.
you get your message out, you get to tell a story, and you see it completed, right?
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
get that form of like, yes, this is done. And so I never thought of archives that way. So like it's kind
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
dope that Miranda said that, because while
Mhm.
I'm listening to her, I'm like, my life book, which we've also, my life box book, we've discussed, I'm looking at
Mhm.
it as like each year of my life. That's a lot, right? Like that's a tremendous amount of me trying to get down like 43 to 44 years of like from
Right.
day
Mhm.
I'm born or day I'm conceived, really, because that's where I start. Day I'm conceived to
Right.
present day,
Mhm.
and hopefully
Nice.
300 years old when I'm trying to live to 300. But um but
Don't do
taking
it.
a fragment, I'm trying taking a fragment of that And like going back to like simplifying it sounds like something I want to try to do, right? So like, even if it's me archiving like my academic journey, right? Because I
Mhm.
feel that for me, there is a story there because it is what I needed and made a big part of my identity as a child was like
Okay.
academics will be my road to freedom, right? And so it
Yeah.
was very important
Mm.
to me. So instead of me, and this is all coming to me now with what Miranda was saying, right? Like instead of me looking at it like year one, year two, year three, year four, maybe I could have a side project and like extract my academic failures and achievements, right? To just
Nice.
tell my academic story.
Mhm.
And that would give me a sense of completion. So I am all about simplify, simplify, because then you will
Simplify.
feel a sense of success in a sense,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like something's done.
Something's
Something's
moving
done.
along with it, and that's
Right.
kind of what we've been talking
Right.
about through the entire thing.
Right.
Keep it simple, take
Right.
it in bits. You know,
Absolutely.
the one last tip I want to offer people is work with somebody. It's kind of it goes back to what I said about talking to someone. Work with someone, bring someone over. Sometimes it's hard for you to get out of a memory. You're stuck in
Yeah.
that
True.
memory.
That's
Oh,
true.
these, oh my God, that's when my mother got married.
That's
Oh,
true.
1960. And you're there for 3 hours, right? But someone who has no emotional attachment to your work can help you with your goals for that day, for that 2 hours that you wanted to clean out the closet and put things in certain boxes. She or they can help you maybe move that along a little quicker because you can get caught in a memory. You can get
Right.
caught in a memory. Hmm.
That's absolutely right. Yep.
Ooh,
They can
gotta put the
help you
tip
make
out there.
those
Don't get caught
decisions.
in a memory. So,
So okay, so let's see what we said. We promised
what are the
5
five?
tips.
Right. I was
But
about
let's
to
see.
ask that.
I think I have. I think I might have the 5. So the first
Okay.
one
We're going to
is,
put them
you
up on the
know,
screen.
well, the
I
first one.
think
Okay, so maybe this the first one of like have a
okay.
conversation with someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's key. Like talk to people about it. I think that's
Yes.
key.
Hmm.
And use what you have, right? That's number
Hmm.
2. Like don't get caught up on the
Absolutely.
supplies that
I
you
need
might need.
boxes. Sis. No,
Get started
get
and
started. Hmm.
let the archive speak for you. The archive will tell you what
3.
supplies it's going to need. Once you
Yes.
get
Absolutely.
into it, let the archive speak, okay?
Hmm.
Let it tell
And
you what it
listen.
needs.
And
And
listen.
listen.
And
Right.
And
listen.
listen, right?
And
And then I
listen.
think number 4 is piles, right? Whatever your piles might be, they
Absolutely.
might be yes, no, maybes. You might want to start with the yeses. You might want to start with the no's, whatever.
Mhm.
You might want to do different types of piles, but piles are
Yes.
really good. Piles kind of help move things along. And I think what
Absolutely.
Tanya was talking about of like the simplicity of it is really, really helpful. Like if you've got 8 piles, 9, 10 piles, you're getting out of simplicity. And this is at the beginning. So you want to think high
Right.
level. You can start having those small piles once you get into things. We're not saying
Hmm.
never get those, start finding those smaller niche piles. But in the beginning, start high level. I think it'll help. And so that's this simplicity, right? I think
Right.
simplicity might be number 5. And then I
Yeah.
think we're on to number 6. What's the story?
What's
What's
the
What's
the
the
story
story?
story?
that you're trying to I
Yeah.
think maybe this one might be better. Let's see.
Oh no. There's
What's the
7.
story?
We
What's
got
the
your
story? Yes,
tips. We got
I
your
think we're on
tips.
7. And I actually think we're on 8 because the
No,
last
we're
one that
not
Stephen
following our own rules of keeping it simple. It's
But here's it is.
5.
But here it is. That simplicity just kind of poured out of us with these
You're
tips. We're
right.
like, yeah, that's another way to look at this.
You're right.
Dr.
Yeah, I think
Tanya.
we've got a few more than 5, a couple more
We
than
got a few
5, but
more
we'll
than
put them
5.
together.
Okay.
Yeah, so
The
we'll
work with
Yeah.
someone and talk to
5A,
somebody. We're
5B,
going to merge
5C.
that together. So we actually only, I think, have like 6 or 7 tips.
yes. Which is
So,
awesome if you're
which is
interested
awesome.
in
Yes.
starting
And so
out
if you're
because
interested in
hey,
getting started, you can just use one of those tips. You don't even have to use all of them.
that's
Just,
exactly right.
Absolutely. Right.
Exactly
hit
right.
up a friend and tell them what you're doing so they can be accountability partner for you. That's
This is
always
what you want
helpful.
to do.
Yeah.
Want
So,
to keep it
start with what feels meaningful to you, what resonates with you, what you know yourself. Like if you know what works, like trust in yourself and trust in what
Mm-hmm.
you know about yourself and how you work. We're all different. Tanya mentioned that she's not organized mindset in that way with like detailed plans. I'm someone who really likes a good plan, a very, very detailed
Trust me.
plan.
Trust
We
me,
know
as
So
it, Nap.
we're
her
very different.
Nap, we
co-conspirator.
know about that one
Yeah.
down there.
So we're going
We
to approach things very differently. And it's just going to
right.
be our approach, because remember, these are our personal archives. And whether you want to put it in a cigar box or you want to spend $8 on an archival box, that's up to you.
That is up
It's
to
up
you.
to you. These are things that represent us, represent who we are,
Mm-hmm.
things that we, may or may not one day want to pass down to somebody or to know about us, things that maybe we just want to cherish and look at every day. And, if they're in I used to have a lot of things in hat boxes because I used to love hat
Mm-hmm.
Right.
boxes. They're so beautiful and big and round. And, I just really loved it. I like how they stacked and they were all flowery. And, I just really liked a good hat box.
Breakfast at
But
Tiffany's. Oh. One last
those
thing I
big
want to
church
say
hat boxes.
before we because we're coming up to time, is that I love the way Tanya was thinking about literature in archives. So that kind of legibility could be helpful for you getting your archive started, just thinking about something that makes sense to you and maybe
Right.
liking it to the process of, maybe it's the way you fold clothes, maybe it's the way that you have to have everything a certain kind of way. Find some way to it, because again, the archive will speak to you. It will share information about why are you keeping this, what does it mean to you, and so you learn about yourself as well. So when you did that, I was like, that's a pretty awesome way to kind of think about it.
Oh, thank you. I've learned
Hmm.
there's no right or wrong. So
Miranda
just
said
do
there's no
it.
standard, that
No
you are the
standard.
standard.
Right.
You are the standard.
Absolutely.
Tip number 8,000. You are the
Tip number
standard.
5, A,
I
B,
know,
C,
I
D.
know
Tip number 5, D.
AI will contradict me, or maybe not.
Oh, well.
Maybe AI would be like, Miranda, that was the smartest thing you've ever said.
Oh no, 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 no,
Well, yeah,
no.
we know ChatGPT will say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's your
Like, you are the
friend.
most. It is, yeah.
Gosh, we've never heard anything like that before.
But
No,
I was
no.
talking to somebody the other day who
Mm-hmm.
seems like a pretty awesome person.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, they're building an archive out of someone's house, and thinking about, like, started to talk to like a conservator and archivist about all the, the control, like the temperature controls, making
Mm,
sure humidity is and but then
Mm-hmm.
he stopped and reflected on it, and he was like, but wait a minute, this person lived and worked and made art in this house for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this stuff is, and it's fine. It's like, it's true. Like, in the moment that we're in, it's like, oh no, our mind goes to, like, we need all these, but we
Right.
don't actually, you
right.
don't. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm not saying that you could just leave the materials in any sort of condition or any sort of temperature, like
Right.
100-degree weather or rain, and like, but yeah, but like within reason, most of our temperatures in our houses are great for the materials that we have, and they've been existing this way for so long. And we can go into things that are a little bit more at risk, but um for the majority of the things that we have, we're probably taking better care of it than we think we are. So it's also good
Mm-hmm.
to be good to yourself, I guess what I'm trying to say on this journey,
That
to
was
be
going to
good
Yes,
to
be my number
yourself.
please.
9. Don't judge yourself if you're
Yeah.
going through
Or
items.
feeling like you're in downtime, like Tanya is
Right.
right now, archival
Archival
downtime.
downtime is you
Right.
replenishing and refreshing, and then you're getting ready
Absolutely.
to do the work later when you feel present with it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
She done gave
So
us a whole new term to write out,
yeah.
according to Tanya.
According to Tanya,
Yeah,
we
I'm
are
a
in a moment of
copyright it.
archival
That's it.
downtime.
Trademark, register it,
Register and all this
put it
stuff.
on a t-shirt.
They will still try to steal it. I will let you know
Okay.
that.
You can have it. Listen,
Right?
Right.
I'm logged in. I'm at work right now, right? Come on. So it actually, anything that I say belongs to Nap right now.
That's so
That's
scary.
how it works.
We are very we're very fluid and very open. And you brought what you made something, you
Right.
take it with you. That's yours.
No, you guys are great.
With you. All right. Any other final thoughts? Again, if you're listening and you know someone you think might be interested in the NAP scholarship, send it to them. Send it to them. They've only got 2 more weeks.
March 31st.
is when the doors close.
Mhm.
And you can always reach out to us if you have any questions about it. We're happy to answer anything in
Absolutely.
terms of the scholarship. But yeah, we definitely love to see what everybody's working on and what everybody's up to out there. So if you have a project, you don't have to be an archivist, but if you're doing archival work and you've got a project that you've been working on, put it in an application.
We're very interested. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Hey.
St. Patrick's Day.
Put some Guinness in your
Yes.
cup.
It is, right?
Put some Guinness in your cup. That's right.
Officially, yeah.
Mother's milk.
Guinness in your cup.
All right.
Oh, no.
Isn't that what they call Guinness?
They call
I
most
have-
stouts mother's milk. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think
Most
so.
stouts. I didn't know. I'd never heard that before. I was like,
Oh, okay. You see.
gross.
I didn't think I
I'm not
came
a-
up with it, but okay.
I'm not a beer drinker, but this. Okay.
There's a story there.
This
Gotta
is
head to the
great.
pub after
And
this.
someone should tell it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe
Next
next
time.
time. Alrighty.
All right. Bye,
Have a-
everyone.